A book that I am sharing with you today is titled Learn to Spend Money. You must be wondering if you need to learn how to spend money. If you don't know how to spend it, I will help you. Spending money is easy, but not everyone knows how to spend money. Bill Gates also said that knowing how to spend money is as difficult as knowing how to make money. In this world, the three questions that you should ask yourself most often are, who am I? Where do I come from? Where do I spend my money? Regarding spending money, Noguchi Mahito, the author of this book, has many things to tell you. He believes that most people have a lot of misconceptions about money. We also often say that people only know how to spend money before they know how to make money. Think about this one word for a while, and you will understand. It means that the more you spend, the more money you have. You must be wondering how money can be spent and become richer. If you don't understand yet, please listen to this book to the end. To make more money, you need to know three things. First, you need to know how to divide your money into three parts. Second, you need to know the principles of spending. And third, be careful about two things before spending. Let's look at the first point. Put your money in three different pockets. Each person has three different pockets of money. Of course, not the left pocket and not the right pocket. They are the spending pocket, the gambling pocket, and the investment pocket. You must think that our money is the same. Put it in one pocket. Why do we need to divide it? In fact, with the money in different pockets, you will spend it in different directions. Let's look at the first pocket, which is the spending pocket. In this pocket, you spend it on things you want, such as buying clothes, watches, gold jewelry, etc. The second pocket is the risk pocket. We spend it on high-risk things, such as buying lottery tickets, playing games, buying paintings or antiques to keep, etc., in case they are valuable in the future. The money spent from the third pocket is different. It is spent on investments, such as buying a house, buying stocks, or investing in a company, etc. This third pocket is called the investment pocket. Know these three types of pockets and what are their benefits? To become a top spender, the more you spend, the more you have money. You need to learn to spend money from your investment pocket more often, spend money from your spending pocket appropriately, and reduce spending on risk pockets. We talked about the risk pocket first. It is a leaky pocket that is easy to lose money because this pocket spends money on high-risk things that we cannot control. If you put the money you earn in the risk pocket, one day you will lose all your wealth. But the investment pocket is different. Every penny and cent spent from this pocket can become your wealth in the future. Spending money here does not only refer to investing in houses, buying land, buying stocks. Spending on investing in knowledge, buying books, buying lessons, buying gym cards for good health, etc. are all considered investments. Of course, in today's life, wherever you go, you have to spend. But spending too much can affect our ability to earn money. These expenses cannot be completely deducted, but before spending, you need to remember one word. Spend it correctly and with value. How to spend it? To spend it with value. For example, before we were in high school, we had no income, so we were very careful about spending money. We bought cheap clothes, 40,000 pieces, thinking that it was very profitable. Spending less money, but getting a lot of things. But thinking back, cheap, low quality, 40,000 pieces are not the same as buying a pair of good quality clothes. The cost is the same, but no matter the quality, use, or feeling in your body, you will feel better when you use expensive and good quality things. This is called knowing how to spend money. The things you use do not need to be too much, but they must be valuable in use. And the things you use every day can be bought a little expensive. Another technique for spending money from your pocket is to put the money you earn from your investment pocket into your spending pocket. For example, if you open a small coffee shop and earn $1,000 a month, you can withdraw $500 and put it in your spending pocket. Do not withdraw more than you earn. This way, your spending will not affect your source of income. It does not matter which pocket you spend your money from, but what matters is what you spend it on and what benefits it can create for you. Spending on beauty or expensive clothes may seem like a waste of money, but sometimes it is an investment. For example, Three women who are friends and have not seen each other for a long time are chatting. The first one says that last year I spent money on the lottery, and this year I won more than $5,000. The second one says that last year I opened a coffee shop and made a profit of more than $20,000. The third one says, oh, last year I didn't make any money, and I even spent more than $50,000 on cosmetic surgery. But today I am here to invite you to a wedding. My husband is a big businessman. In this example, the first woman might spend money in her risk pocket, the second woman might spend money in her investment pocket, and the third woman might spend money in her spending pocket. But her spending here is also an investment. So whether it's a wasteful expense or not doesn't depend on what you buy or spend on. It depends on whether it creates value for you later. Of course, this is just a hypothetical example, and we don't encourage you to do this, just to clarify the different definitions of these three pockets. Now that we know that we need to spend a lot of money on investing, how should we spend it? This is what we need to talk about, and it is a principle that we should spend it to make it more valuable. This means that you should only buy things that will increase in value in the future. But the question is, how do you know if something will increase in value in the future? In fact, everything in this world has its own value. The difficult thing is how to evaluate it. Some things cannot be measured in money. For example, there is a Chinese language course that costs $300 for a regular course, and another course that costs $1,000 for a special course for business owners. If you are, would you choose to spend $300 or $1,000? Most people will think that it depends on your own situation. If you have the money to take the $1,000 course, if you don't have much money, you can take the $300 course. Or you can also say that it depends on the school and the teacher. If the teacher is famous, the school is good, and you are willing to spend a lot of money accordingly. However, according to the author's advice, you should choose the option that has value in the future, regardless of whether it is expensive or cheap, famous or not. The same thing is useful to different people. If you are an entrepreneur who wants to start a business and want to do business with Chinese people in the future, then investing $1,000 to learn Chinese for business owners is the right choice. But if you have no intention of doing business right now, and you just want to use it for normal communication with local Chinese people, then you should choose to invest $300 in learning basic Chinese. This is a simple comparison that can help you weigh which one you should choose and how much money you should spend. However, such straightforward thinking is not entirely correct, and there are still some errors. In general, people often miscalculate the value of something. The problem is that we often forget to consider another important thing, which is time. For example, to make it easier to understand, you lend someone $10,000, and after 3 years, they pay you back $10,000. Borrowing $10,000 and paying back $10,000 is correct, but if you put it in a more principled way, you have lost everything. We consider 2 points. First, if you put $10,000 in the bank, you will earn interest. For example, the local interest rate is 7%, so you will have $700 left in a year. But now 3 years have passed, and there is no interest, so it is not a loss. Second, you need to know that money gets cheaper the longer it lasts. Before, $1 could buy a coconut from the fruit, but now $1 can buy a single coconut. If you talk about your $10,000, in 3 years, its value will be about $8,000, because after 3 years, the price of goods will increase and money will decrease. So when we spend money to invest in the future, we must also consider time. They say that time is money. This saying is not wrong. We should not compare the money we will get in the future with the money we spend on investing now. We need to discount the money in the future at an appropriate level, which in financial terms is called the discount rate. Let me give you an example to make it easier to understand. For example, if you do a project for someone, they have to pay you $100,000 over 4 years. They pay you the money in 2 different ways. The first way, $10,000 in the first year, $20,000 in the second year, $30,000 in the third year, and $40,000 in the fourth year, totaling $100,000. The second way is the opposite, $40,000 in the first year, $30,000 in the second year, $20,000 in the fourth year. Which option do you choose? The correct option is the second option. Get the money up front. The sooner, the better, because the loss on your discount rate is less. This does not include the profit, interest, and blessings that you may receive when you use the money elsewhere.
In short, the author wants us to spend money from our pockets to invest, meaning to use money to create money. Because if you keep money at home, not only is there a risk of loss or theft, but also, as the example above mentioned, if you keep $100,000 at home and don't use it, after 5 years, its value will no longer be $100,000, but only about $80,000, because everything has become more expensive than 5 years ago. Analyzing the value of something, in addition to considering all these things, another important thing we need to think about is asking a question. How long will this investment pay off? And when you reap the benefits, will it still be as valuable to you as you think it is now? For example, if you are now 80 years old, a child comes to you and tells you that if you invest $10,000 in me now, 20 years later, you will have a profit of $100,000. You will definitely not agree. After 20 years, even if you make a profit, you will not have a chance to spend it, or you will be immediately angered by the child. You don't know. Because at that age, you may not value those benefits as much, but value time more. But if you are currently around 30 years old and invest $10,000 in 20 years and have $100,000, you might consider it, because in 20 years you will only be 50 years old. You may still have the opportunity to spend this money.
So, in addition to considering its value, you need to consider your remaining life, your hobbies, and your life situation, because all of these things are constantly changing. Now, you spend money on something that you think is very valuable, but when you get older, you may not be sure that you still think so. For example, when you were little, you spent money on toys, but when you grow up, you don't understand why you spent money on such crazy things. You spend tens of thousands of dollars on setting up a music studio because you dream of becoming a famous singer on YouTube, thinking that this expense is worth it. When you change your mind and do something else, investing in those things may no longer be worth it to you. This is what the author of the book wants to guide you all. Spend money only on things that increase our value in the future, and then the more you spend, the richer you will be. But you may have a question. Before spending money on us, evaluate any object or story from its future value, how much it will cost in the future, taking into account the discount rate, its time, and other factors, etc. What if you think wrong? Is it not a loss? Often your wrong thinking is due to two reasons: emotions and poor judgment. Still, most people make decisions based on emotions. In a book called The Art of Procrastination, which is summarized in We Read, it says that if you make decisions based on your emotions and conscience, you will often make the wrong decisions. Although our brain is good at calculating numbers, it is not so good at analyzing numbers. For example, if you buy a 2-digit lottery from 00 to 99, there are 100 numbers in total. If you bet on any number, your chance of winning is 1%. But if you win, you will be paid 70 times. Your chance of losing is up to 99%, but you don't think about the chance of losing. You only think about the chance of winning. There are still millions of people playing this game, as you all know, betting on numbers, and most people still think that they can be the luckiest person, that they will be the lucky one. But in reality, it is not as easy as you think. Another thing that can cost you money is bad judgment. It can be said that you know that something should not be done, but you still want to try it. Israeli Nobel Prize-winning philosopher Daniel Kahneman has a famous saying, "People overreact to rare events and underreact to frequent events." Statistics show that the risk of an accident when traveling by plane is 1 in 11 million. This means that only 1 in 11 million flights has a problem, while traveling by car has a risk of 1 in 5,000. This figure shows that traveling by plane is 2,200 times safer than traveling by car. However, as long as there is news about every plane crash, the rate of flying will decrease. People still choose to travel by car, even though they know that traveling by car is many times more dangerous. After the September 11th incident in the United States, the number of deaths from road traffic accidents increased by 1,000. In the curriculum, there was a lesson called behavioral economics, which is a combination of economics and psychology. In this lesson, a theory is proposed that people feel more afraid when losing money than they feel happy when receiving money. For example, your family is not very wealthy, but your child has won a 50% scholarship to study abroad. It is a golden opportunity to send your child to study abroad to get a higher education. But this 50% scholarship requires you to spend $10,000. Anyone can want such a good opportunity and conditions. You have high knowledge, good social relationships, and pay the other 50% of the tuition fee. No matter how you think, it is profitable. In this situation, even though life is a little difficult, you can earn $10,000. In such circumstances, would you decide to spend $10,000? In my experience, most parents do not spend this money. This is a decision to give up a good investment because of the reason of maintaining financial security in the family. Not that it is a wrong decision, but this decision is to give up an investment that everyone wants. This is the habit of most people's judgment, which makes us analyze the value of our investment differently. In our daily lives, there are many more examples.
Regarding decisions, you can find another book called The Art of Procrastination, which may help you make the right decision. Although, when we make a decision to invest money in something, it is true that it can be misunderstood due to emotions or poor judgment. Is there any other way to reduce the risk of making an investment decision? The author recommends 2 strategies. The first strategy is to not put all your eggs in one basket. Do something to spread the risks. Do not concentrate all the risks in one place. If one thing fails, there is another thing that can help to recover. This can reduce the losses caused by your wrong decision to some extent. If you put all your money in one investment, for example, buying a piece of land, when there is a problem, you will lose everything. Warren Buffett's investment principles also mention this. The second strategy is to use money to buy the right to use it for a certain period of time. In simpler terms, it is to use a deposit. For example, if you rent a house for $3,000, you have not decided yet, but you want to reserve it. The landlord requires you to make a deposit of 10% per month, equal to $300. This deposit is the money you spend to buy the right to use the house in the near future, even if you can't use it, but the landlord can't rent it to anyone else. If within 1 month you find another house that is cheaper, for example, you find a house for rent for $2,000, you can throw away the deposit. You have the right to cancel the promise with the previous landlord. In short, when you are afraid of investment failure, you can spend money to ensure your wrong decision to minimize losses.
This is important when you are not sure if it is a good investment or not. You can use a small amount of money to try it out. If in the short term you decide that the opportunity is not good or you find a better opportunity in the meantime, you can give up that small amount of money and go for a better option. The deposit case is a clear example that is often used, especially when deciding to invest in buying or renting real estate. This principle is used a lot, and you will get many benefits if you know how to use it. For example, if you work for a company and recently want to quit and go out of business, you can sign a contract with the company to keep your position or ask for a suspension. In case your business fails, you still have a job. You have spent almost nothing, but you have already bought insurance when your business fails. If your business loses, you can still have a job.
The above are the main contents of this book. Let's summarize it briefly. This book tells us to divide the money we spend into 3 different parts. The first is money spent on general consumption, which we call the spending pocket. The second is money spent on high-risk purchases, such as lottery tickets, which we call the risk pocket. The third is money spent on investments, such as buying stocks, buying land, buying stocks, etc., which is called the investment pocket. The author recommends that you don't put money in the risk pocket. Put money in the investment pocket. When the investment is profitable, take a part of the profit and put it in the spending pocket to spend. The second point is how to make yourself spend money usefully. We must analyze first. What we spend on it now, how much money can be returned to us in the future? One important point is that we must not forget the time factor. Money that will come in the future must be considered at the discount rate. If you invest $10,000 today and get $15,000 10 years later, don't think you've made a profit of $5,000, because $15,000 10 years later is about the same as $10,000 today. You need to know that the value of something changes over time.
Take this into account to make your investment analysis unbiased and accurate. Finally, we talk about investment decisions that can be wrong for two reasons: emotional factors and judgment factors. If you want to invest successfully, you must avoid these two mistakes. If you have no experience, don't trust your own feelings too much and always make judgments based on logical principles. To avoid risk, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you are not sure whether it is the right investment or not, you can use a small amount of money to reserve and watch the market situation first. If there is a better option, choose the best option. The book Learn to Spend Money has just that much content. Thank you for listening. Congratulations on finishing another book.